TheBitzr.
Good evening, strangers, and welcome to another episode of The Bitzr Babbles. Today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. I can't make a scary laugh. It's just, all I can do is giggle, and even that's not very scary. Okay, so today, obviously, I want to talk about D&D. More specifically, D&D characters, role-playing, making a character, and how to have a good experience with the character that your dice give you. Because not always are we given the character we desire. So sometimes we just gotta roll with those punches. So when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, typically you choose the class you want to play and the race you want to play. Of course, you can roll for those, just like you can roll for everything, but usually the DM will let you at least choose those two things. When you get to the backstories, that's when things get interesting. Most DMs would make you roll for it, like the tables say. Some are nicer, and they'll let you choose what your backstory is and let you play a character you're comfortable with, especially if it's your first time. You definitely want to do something you're more excited about. But when you're rolling for your character's traits, you can get some pretty weird ones, especially if you do an extended backstory, which I love to do. You get another table and you add like history to your character, traumatic events, blessings, it's got all kinds of stuff, and it can make your character really messed up. Like, it can destroy the character you put so much work into, or it can give you like a bunch of random weird great stuff. Like, I did an extended backstory, and this one time I got a bird who blessed me with an extra spell slot, and I was like, interesting, thank you, bird. But I originally made my first D&D 5e character, Rayonic Agrenar, Father of the Strong. He's my 7'5" half-dragon warlock. He's so cool. But when I was rolling for his backstory, we did, I did Outlander, and then I rolled and it was raised by wolves. So I was like, okay, weird, half-dragon raised by wolves. I can make this work. So, and I did. I made a whole story for him, which I'll get into right after I talk about this in this video. Later in this video. Okay, so after I did that, you found like your character's traits and stuff. And I actually have my D&D binder right here, so we can reference, because I kind of may have forgot what some of my traits are off the top of my head. And if you guys would like to see him, that's Rayonyx, the dragon, obviously. He's so cool! So I picked Outlander for a background, and then I rolled and I got raised by wolves. So that threw me for a loop. And then you have to do their personality trait, which I got Bounty Hunter, which is hard for me to work in because of the other traits I got, but I've kind of modified it to Booty Hunter. Which will be explained in a moment. So, after I got Bounty Hunter, I got Might. The strong shall rule. So, that's pretty self-explanatory. He has respect for people with strength, he likes being strong. Easy peasy. You can work that into a character. Role-playing that, so far, pretty easy. Then you get to the bonds, and that's where things get a little bit interesting, because I rolled his duty is to spread his seed to the worthy. His goal in life is to make babies. I've never played a character that was their reason for doing things. It's very, very interesting, which is why I changed Bounty Hunter to Booty Hunter, because he kind of is after that booty. It's hysterical. But the funny thing is, because he has might. He doesn't give his seed to just anybody. He's very selective about who can carry on his lineage. It's hysterical. So we've got a bunch of half dragon people running around. I have, at the moment, 73 spawn. Granted, I impregnated a dragon, so that kind of, you know, the eggs, there's a bunch of them. I got a little head start with that. Well, not head start, it was kind of in the middle. And he did that. The dragon stole my sisters, and I may have, you know, stuff happened. Anyway, so after your bonds, you get your flaws. And I rolled the spices the weak, which kind of works with the might, because he already feels the strong shall rule. But now it's like going that step further. Now I have to play him like he totally writes off anyone that's weak. And being illiterate and raised by wolves and not quite understanding everything, his first like judge of character is your height. If you're tall, he'll respect you, because obviously the taller, the bigger, the stronger, right? So if you're playing a gnome, he might not recognize you or notice your existence for a little while until you show him a feat of strength. So I have to work all that into this character when I play him. But when you do an extended backstory, there's even more, and it can get insane. Fortunately, Rayonyx's extended backstory did not get too bad. He's got a lot of good things going for him. He cannot contract diseases, which is real good for what this guy's motive for living is. But I've seen some people get total crap with it, and then it's like, so I've got this character with bonds, flaws, personality traits, a history, and it's like something that you're not ready to roleplay or something that you've just never taken on before. And it can be a big feat to try and work all of it into a cohesive storyline to who this person is. Because when you're playing D&D, your character isn't so your character isn't you. That has to be a very big distinction. You are your character, but your character is not you. So if you are shy and timid and have a hard time being bold and rash and spreading your seed around, it can be a little difficult to be like, okay, I've got this, now I gotta go and actually get into this world and be this character. So some tips and tricks for role-playing this is to make a cohesive backstory. Not only will that help you remember why your character does this and like what has led him to or her to this point in their life, it will help you know who they are. So I write a full backstory for all of my characters, and if you want to take a look at some of it, you see those huge blocks of texts? Yeah, most of that's backstory. So, when you build a backstory, I like to start, like, at the beginning. Who's their parents? Do they know their parents? Where were they born? How'd they grow up? And then I kind of elaborate off of that, and I interweave the, his parents are alive, but he was raised by wolves. Why? So he was given to these wolves as an egg to protect, because the mother was being hunted. So it's things like that where you kind of roll it together and find an outcome that makes sense. And why is he spreading his seed to the world? Why does he think strength is so important? As he grew up and he left the wolf tribe, he met a native tribe to the Outland, and they taught him like the ways of strength and how to survive on your own and stuff in the world. And so he values their teachings he never learned to read or write, so knowing how to be strong and how to be dependable is really all he knows, and he has a great respect for the young and the strength and the potential that they carry. So he's always really nice to kids, which is really funny. But you can just kind of see how rolling those traits into an actual cohesive story can really help you know the characters, so when you sit down to play them, you've already got a whole lot of information on this person. So I see all too often somebody wants to be a cool, swashbuckling, something or other, hero, majestic man with a long beard who's awesome. But then they sit there and they don't know this character, so it's like, Bitsy, what do you do? Well, Rayonix busts through the door and he asserts his dominance and he smells this lady and deems her worthy, and, you know, you go on and on and on, and I can, you know, I've got something to work with. And then it's like, Mr. Anonymous person next to me, whoever that is, what does your character do? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Well, you gotta know! Or else it's just no fun. Like, the whole point of D&D, imagining and role-playing, is to kind of, you know, get out of this world, to relax and not be yourself for a change, and to immerse yourself in a completely different world, which is awesome. So when you're playing a character, don't think of it as like you're controlling this character's actions like in a video game. Think of it more as you're telling this character's story. You're the storyteller for this character, and you can become very close to these characters that you create. Rayonix is very dear to my heart and is in my comic book because I want people to know him. He's my very first 5e character, and I had an amazing group when I was playing him back in Michigan, and I mean, it's a big part of me. But yeah, those personality traits can be really hard to work in unless you know the person and why they're doing that. Because when you're role-playing, you have to use those. Not only is it part of the game and mandatory, and depending on your DM, they can be very stickler on it, but it makes it funner for you and the people around you. Because when your friend is super into it and they are telling the story of their character and you haven't thought into it enough to really try, or are too scared to try, and like, and I get that. It can be scary. I've got another character that I'm playing right now with my new group for 5e, and she's got an accent, and I do this accent, and it's scary. It's so scary. I might try and do it for you in a minute, but I have to work up the nerve. I always have to prepare myself. I'm like, okay, I'm in character. I don't have to worry because this is a game and this is fantasy and this is another world. So when you're in front of that page and the DM calls on you and it's your turn to roleplay, go for it. Look at those traits, look at that background. Think to yourself, how would this person react? And then take you out of it. You're not part of this equation. So if they are entering a tavern, then you know, Turagar, brave, valiant, vixen, slayer. You know what he would do because you've got it all ready for you. And then you can be like, I go in and I slay the vixen, prostituting herself all over the bar thing. Obviously, that's a bad example, but an example nonetheless. So, to kind of express, to give you some examples of roleplay characters and things, I will pretend to be Elduri for you. Oh, she is my current 5e character, and she is completely opposite of me. It's really tough to roleplay her, but if I can do her, she's really hard. Then you can make someone not nearly as hard as her, and you can roleplay too. You just need a little bit of courage, and you gotta know who that person is. So, Elduri Talku is a drow. She grew up in a noble family of the Underdark in the city of Usnatha. I did a butt ton of research for her, and she has a very crazy backstory and is still aligned to the drow, though she's on the surface to clear her mind. She saw a lot of her friends fall in combat, and she's just kind of taken a break. She's true neutral. She doesn't care about anybody but herself, which is totally like, she's completely opposite of me. So here we go. I'll give you her opening line that she introduces herself like this. Are you ready? Okay, I gotta get in character. Don't look. Stop looking at me. Okay. I am Elduri Talku, War Cleric of Ishtar. Good to make your acquaintance. What is the problem we have here today? Jeez. Hello, I am Elduri Talku, War Cleric of Ishtar. That's how she introduces herself. I would like to do more for you guys, but seeing as I don't really have a setting or anything, it's kind of hard to just make up random settings. I do that for my comic book characters and stuff, but I'm not really an on-the-spot kind of... I'm not a dungeon master. I'm just not cut out to... I'd rather be the character and tell the story of the character, which is what I do in my comics. I mean, in some ways, you could say I'm a DM for the comic, but really I'm much more of a player. If that makes any sense at all, because it didn't make sense to me, so... Anyway, want to see what Elduri looks like? She's hysterical. All men are beneath her, of course, because she's a drow. Can you see it? You can't see it, can you? Fudge. Oh, I'm on the wrong side. There she is. Alright. Ignore my notes. Please. Anyway. Ooh. So, I need to level her up. I totally destroyed an aboleth. Actually, Rayonyx destroyed an aboleth. But Elduri was there. That was in my transition phase, where I was going from one character to another, because we're staying in the same world. So, Rayonyx is on his way to conquer Mount Celestia. Oh yeah. It's gonna be great. Which will probably just be a one-shot with me and the DM, because I really want to see where Rayonyx is going to go next before I just take him out of my arsenal. I want to keep playing him, but Elduri's much more suited to the current group I have, and that's another thing to keep in mind when creating a character. You really have to mesh with the other characters. If none of the people in the campaign you're playing are good people, if they're all chaotic or some form of almost evil, don't play lawful good. You're just gonna make the party, you're just gonna pull the party down, because they're gonna want to blow up a tavern, and you're not gonna want them to, and then you'll be the odd man out. So, even though you roll these things, and sometimes you get things you have a hard time dealing with, make sure the character you're bringing into a group meshes with the group. I have to let go of Rayonyx for this new campaign because he doesn't fit in the group I have right now. I love the character, but making a new one and playing her, she fits so much better with the group I have right now. They're getting really chaotic, they're really leaning toward evil, and I think there might be some alignment changes coming up in some of my party members. So it's just better to have someone who's used to being evil, being a drow, than Rayonyx, who, even though his ways are a little skewed, he still wants to do things for the good of humanity, for the bettering of the world. He's still a good guy. He's chaotic good, but he's still a good guy. Whereas Elduri is not. So keep that in mind. Make sure you're playing the character well. Make sure you know the character so you can play them well. And make sure that character meshes with the group. And there's no reason you can't keep a character you've rolled and make another one for this group. You can save the other one for later. I've got a bunch of characters that I haven't used yet. I have this really awesome pirate rogue chick who's the bomb. She's so cool, but I haven't had a good group for her yet, so she's waiting. Anyway, I hope that was helpful for you guys. I hope you guys are inspired to make some characters of your own. I hope you are inspired to play some D&D and roll some dice, and I hope you guys come back next time. Have a great week, guys. And if you liked this video and want more D&D videos or more character videos, smash that subscribe button and be a barbarian and punch the like button. Yeah. Stay strange, guys. I'll see you next time.